the more we can offer in those different arenas, in those different places, those destinations, the better we are.
Okay, welcome back to the Marketing Playbook presented by Details Interactive. Here you'll take away 3 game-winning marketing plays every episode to take back to your team. I'm your host, Mark Friedman, and my career has been focused on direct-to-consumer marketing, direct mail, physical retail, and digital commerce. This is episode number 136, and my guest is Laura Geller. This was a fun show for me, as it's the first time that I've had an opportunity to speak with Laura, although I've been following her brand for a few years now. My mom has been a longtime follower, and because of Laura's 28-year run on QVC selling her beauty product, her Geller gals feel like they know her. Laura shares how her early fascination with makeup and a pivotal moment in beauty school set her on a path toward Broadway, brand building, and global recognition. She opens up about the challenges and breakthroughs that led her to innovative baked makeup line and her authentic approach to pricing and product development. We also dive into her incredible connection with customers of every age and how authenticity, storytelling, and partnership continue to drive her brand success. This conversation is packed with wisdom, humor, and heart, so get ready for an intimate look at the woman behind one of beauty's most beloved names. Before we get started, a quick thank you as always to Max Branstetter of the Wild Business Growth Podcast for producing this episode. You can reach him at maxpodcasting.com to help bring your podcast to life. Let's open the playbook. Ready, break. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining the Marketing Playbook Podcast. Today I'm joined by Laura Geller. Early in Laura's career, she loved 2 things, beauty and Broadway. The born and raised New Yorker combined both when she landed a job backstage as a theatrical makeup artist. Soon after, she took center stage when she opened her namesake makeup studio on Manhattan's Upper East Side. During the more than 2 decades her studio was in business, Laura became known for her wearable looks and magnetic personality, 2 talents that made her a resounding success when she launched lauragellerbeauty in 1997. Her debut product, a highlight and contour kit, sold out in minutes during her first appearance on QVC. Within a few years, she debuted the award-winning Spackle Skin Perfecting Primer, widely considered to be the first makeup primer on the market. Today, Laura Geller Beauty proudly sits under the AS Beauty family of brands, a firm specializing in the development and incubation of female-founded beauty brands. Laura Geller herself remains the longest-serving beauty ambassador on QVC, where she continues to captivate millions with her simple and educational approach to everyday makeup. Laura, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Mark. I appreciate it. I'm not going to lie, I do enjoy sharing my story. It's a good one.
It's an awesome story, and as we chatted a bit, I've been involved with your business now for a few years. I've learned a lot about you as an individual and the business, and I wanted to be able to share the story. We don't have quite the reach as NBC, and we'll talk in a second about the recent appearance that you had. Nonetheless, we're going to share with our listeners. We always start the show with the guest's first story. And I know you've talked about this a lot throughout your career, where you got your start, where you grew up, and what you did and were part of early in your life that might have suggested that your career would develop the way it has.
So I was born in the Bronx. I stayed there till I was about 8 years old. And then I moved to Rockland County in a town called Spring Valley, New York. You might be familiar with it, Mark. I must tell you, it was a wonderful place to grow up. In fact, my best friend is who I'm going to lunch with today. Since I'm 7 years old, she's the first person I met when we moved into our home when I was 8 years old. I will tell you that I think what made me interested in the business of beauty was that town, meaning the neighborhood I grew up in. Funny enough, the women on the block, not my mom, but the women on the block that were raising my friends when I was very young were very fashion forward, really into beauty. And I was fascinated at how they were able to transform themselves because I would see them with and without makeup. And one of them in particular, who lived directly across the street, was the woman who would always make me up for all my special proms and sweet 16s and things because my mother was very simple. She would put a little pancake makeup on, a little red lipstick, and call it a day. And it wasn't her area of interest of beauty or fashion. And I was so fascinated by it that I didn't do it to myself. I wasn't painting my face, but I did more than most of my friends. I knew about, making sure my hair looked styled or making sure my brows were groomed. And I was about to head off to college. My parents were taking me to look at different schools, but I was undecided about what my major should be. And back in the day, I'm really dating myself since I didn't know I was going to study secretarial studies. And I ran into a high school classmate who was super smart, who used to get me through some of my exams because I was more of an artist and a creator, creative personality. And she said to me, what are you going to do? And I said, oh, I'm going to go to school for secretarial studies. And she said, listen, I know you love makeup. It's like a passion of yours. And I'm going into beauty school to learn hairdressing. I said, you? I said, you're so smart. Like, you're going to school for hairdressing? She said, do me a favor, come meet me and meet the owner of this beauty school. And I went, and he said to me, you're going to be very successful. And I said, okay, how do you know that? And he said, because you have something a lot of people don't have. And I said, what is that? And he said, a gift of gab. And I kind of understood it, but I was 18 and I didn't really understand it. But he persuaded me to come to beauty school. And so I never went to college. I always say if they offered beauty culture in college, I would have gone. Instead, I went to a vocational school and I got my license and was frustrated that I didn't really learn makeup. I really learned because back in the day, to do makeup, you had to have a license, a cosmetology license. So I was glad I went for that reason, but I never really got the education of beauty culture. So he didn't know what to do with me, and he sent me to School of Visual Arts in New York City, which was a theater and film makeup program. He didn't even really know. He just sort of yellow paged it, I think. And I went and studied under one of the most famous Hollywood makeup men, Herman Buckman. And Herman Buckman took me under his wing and taught me the real art of makeup. And that's how I ended up working on Broadway early on because my real schooling is in theater and film makeup because that was the course I took. It's not where I landed eventually, as you know, but it was a great stepping stone, and part of my career that helped me decide that, funny enough, while it sounded fun, it wasn't what I wanted. And what wasn't what I sought out for. It's what I just sort of fell into.
And so, as you developed what you fell into, let's talk about the namesake brand that you created. You wake up one day and you're a beauty makeup artist person, and then you say, I want to create my own products and market my own products. What was that transition like?
I wound up working in New York City in a very famous theater film makeup store because I had that skill set where a lot of actresses and actors would come in for stage makeup because Broadway doesn't have a budget to hire makeup people. They have wig people, costume people, and but they also had a line of what we call street makeup. I don't think it's termed that anymore. Street makeup was makeup for everyday people. And I was working in this store. I was great at being able to sell theater and film makeup to celebrities or notable people that were on Broadway or film. But when real women came in for a makeover and I took them into these private little rooms to do their makeup and I would make them up, I'd realize that I enjoyed doing that more. And I saw how they came alive when I would put their makeup on, and that I really was talented at putting makeup on. But I also didn't realize what I had was another skill, was the education piece of it. And because I was able to explain what I was doing and teach them, they were more inclined to purchase the product because they wanted to replicate the look and they understood what I did. I did that for 10 years. And eventually got fired from that job. And when I got fired, I was devastated because I would have stayed there forever. But it was at that moment that I said, I need to do this on my own. And I took an apartment in Hell's Kitchen, which was near this store. And clients would come, my name was out there. I developed and amassed a great clientele. They would come to my apartment in Hell's Kitchen and I would make them up. And then they wanted to buy the product. And I was like, oh, I don't have that to sell. So I'd like to say that I had a business plan, Mark, but it sort of was like the client demand is how it dictated my succession of what I was going to do next.
That's an awesome story. And sometimes, we over plan and it doesn't materialize. And in some cases you don't plan and something fantastic happens. I want to jump on a word you used, education. And we're going to talk about laurageller.com. But one of the things that I've seen quite a bit, and I did not have any beauty experience. Most of my career has been in apparel and in home fashions. So beauty is new for me. The need for an older woman to evolve her look, her need as her skin is changing. The education part seems to be really important. People are seeking that out. So how do you and your business make sure that you can educate her appropriately?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And if I had to really examine what sets the brand apart from maybe other brands, is that there are very few founders that are still connected to their brand today, to their original brand. I mean, there's lots of founders who sold their brands and went on to reinvent other careers or maybe other makeup lines. But for me, what's been a consistency is evolving with her, with my customer. And since I started when I was, what, 18, 20 years old, and now I'm 67, I feel like I've gone through all the decades. And also because I'm a makeup artist and I really do understand the needs of how to properly make yourself up. I feel like I am talking to her, whether I always say whether she's 19 or 90, below or beyond, but specifically the woman who's really interested in understanding how to make her face up and what she needs is the woman over 40 and 50 and 60 and beyond, frankly. I mean, I have lots of customers in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, and I'm so proud of that. And I think I connect with her because she trusts that I've been with the brand this long, and also because I understand her needs because I'm not 40 or 30. And you have to meet the needs of your skin and your looks where you are, and that evolves and it changes. And I educate them on what they should be doing or editing or changing.
For those that don't know the brand, your products are manufactured a bit differently than some others.
Mm,
Maybe you can talk about that for us.
yeah. So this is so true because about 20 years ago, I was always looking for products that were innovative. And being on QVC, for those of you who don't know, I've been on QVC for 28 years. One of the demands they have, and also this is in retail too, in big box stores, is new innovation and constantly. And QVC has a demand for it much more than a big box store. And in order to keep your brand fresh, they would say, what else do you have? What else do you have? What's new? And I was using this product that was in my vanity every day. And one day when I pulled it out to put it on, it was a bronzer. I thought, where did I get this from? And it looks so funny. It looks just like something out of space. And it took me a long time to find out which distributor had sent it to me. When I nailed him down and I said, what is this product? Oh, it's baked in Italy. And I said, well, what does that mean? Like, I need to understand. I want to launch it on QVC. And he said, would you be willing to go to Italy with me? And I was like, twist my arm, really? And so he literally took me to Italy, to the factory. And when I saw how it was made, it was staggering. I had never seen makeup made that would, and I had been in labs and worked with, R&D people and all kinds of things. This process is so unique. And while I didn't invent it and it's existed, and there are many famous lines with big, expensive names that have baked and they bake for, they let me in and showed me the bake trade secret. And what I learned was that it's highly moisturizing because the baked product starts its life as a cream and it's baked on terracotta. This is the terracotta tile. And so the product is baked on this. And the reason for that is that I always say I was explaining bake technology on QVC for years, and my mother, may she rest in peace, who was my biggest critic and would say the things I did right and wrong, mostly wrong. When I came off air, I would call her. She'd say, "You keep saying it's baked on terracotta. I don't know what that means. You got to explain what terracotta." That changed the whole trajectory of me explaining baked. And I always say, liken it to the plants in your house. They're not in metal pots. They're in terracotta pots because when you pour water into your plants, the water stays in terracotta and is released slowly and maintains its hydration. So it's the same analogy to your skin. It looks like a powder, but it's not a powder. It's a cream that is more hydrating for the skin. I went on air with this product, and it was almost 2 decades ago. It was called Bronze and Brighten. I named it Bronze and Brighten, and I thought it was going to be a one and done. I really didn't know, and that's one of the lessons I'll share with everybody who might be listening about marketing, because that was a big lesson. I didn't know I was onto something that was going to be so innovative that people were going to wind up copying me and trying to do what I did. And it's been around for more than 2 decades now. And it's the gold standard. And it's what Laura Geller Beauty is all about.
The devil is in the details. You probably have heard that phrase time and time again in your professional life. Projects get started with great intentions, but you no longer have the time to pay attention to the little things that could make the difference between success and failure. At Details Interactive, you can discuss your business with a seasoned direct to consumer marketing executive who's helped launch and grow web businesses and integrate multi channel marketing initiatives. Learn more at detailsinteractive.com. You made a comment about beauty. There could be expensive brands, and then there's brands that are not so expensive. There's such a wide range of price point, for folks. So I would imagine that you can't just assume that more expensive is better. So how do you counsel folks that come to you for tips? Certainly you want them to buy your product, but what should they be looking for in their beauty products?
I'm never going to convince everybody that spending more money means you're getting a better product, but I really think it's personal. And I think for women and men, it's trial and error. And what works for you may be that expensive product, and then why not keep using it? But there's no need to spend the kind of money that some brands are charging because you're paying really for their marketing and for their shelf space in stores and so many other things. I give a product that's truly maybe even more expensive than other brands, but part of the reason why this is quite the admission, Mark. Part of the reason why we are so well priced is because when I started out, I didn't know anything about how to price things. So I didn't mark up my products to make a big profit. In fact, I nearly made profit on my products. I didn't know that I had to pay a fulfillment house and packaging and outer packaging and on and on and on. So I kind of made up prices that were ridiculously fair. And then when the brand became really well known and people like Sephora came to me and said, "We want you in our store. We've heard about your brand." When they saw the pricing, they were like, "You can't come in the store. Your prices are too low. And you've got products that other brands have that are charging quadruple the amount." But of course, they took me, and Of course, over time, everything increases, and so our prices had to increase, but still never to the degree that they should be. I know too much about the inside scoop of the beauty industry, and when I see somebody charging, I don't know, $79 for a foundation, I'm like, oh my God, really? So that's a hard one for me. The good news is because we're so well suited for purchase for all people of all socioeconomic incomes, we have a great business. And so it didn't hurt me in any way, but it could have helped a little better.
The fact that you've been on QVC for 28 years. I don't know when QVC got its start, but 28 years ago is a long time for anybody to do anything. What do you attribute the longevity with QVC that you've had?
I think there's two things. I think I'm no different than the person, the consumer, her, him at home. I am a QVC shopper, always was. And so I think we are one and the same. So when they see me, they feel like I am a friend and that they can identify with who I am. And whether I've had some success in my career, didn't change who I am. I've never changed. I'm still that same person. I wouldn't know how to be different. So there's the connection and then storytelling. And I think when I create my products for QVC in particular, I really care to a fault that when she gets it and she receives it, that she has the same outcome that I wanted her to have, which is success and feeling good about putting it on and it to be goof proof. And so I think the loyalty is there because I've delivered on that promise. And also, QVC gives you a platform to tell your story where you can't do that in store. You just can't.
What we talk about QVC as a channel that you sell in, and your business sells in many different channels. So QVC being one, laurageller.com being one of the most dominant places where you sell. You also sell on Amazon. You sell in some other retailers. Talk about the way the business has evolved and the various channels that you've added over time.
Well, I think the world has evolved too. I mean, listen, COVID changed so many things, but I think the entry into going online and being able to purchase things and not having to battle going to a mall anymore, sadly, because I still miss those days. I think that, Sephora, Ulta, Amazon, Macy's, all the places we're in allows the consumer who's comfortable shopping in those places the opportunity to get my product because we're not in store. And I think the more we can offer in those different arenas, in those different places, those destinations, the better we are. And of course, laurageller.com being, reigning supreme because we can offer deals and configurations and do what we want without having to ask anybody. So I think the world has evolved and the way we shop has evolved, and I needed to get to that place. And I think working alongside of some of the most brilliant people at AS Beauty, who are the most brilliant marketers and e-commerce, people that understand how to shop, has really helped the brand evolve outside of just one channel of distribution, which at the time for me was QVC only.
Right. You're so busy. It's amazing to watch all the things you do. I wonder where you get all the energy from to do the things that I see. You talk about storytelling. The world has evolved essentially to what I imagine is a perfect sweet spot for you because you're so personable and you do so much on Instagram and in TikTok. Talk about how that's evolved for you. That those are technologies and methods of communication that are still relatively new, but you've taken to them really well and have driven a lot of business through those channels.
I think that if you're not relevant on social media and you have a brand, and if there is a founder or a face to the brand and you're not doing social media, you're missing out on a wider audience. Listen, I think fortunately AS Beauty and I have each other. And so why not utilize me while I'm still around? I do think that being, am I a Gen Xer? No. I'm a baby boomer. No, I'm a baby boomer. Baby boomer. There's a Gen Z, Gen Next, there's this one and that one. I think there's still a lot I don't understand, but thankfully, as I spoke about it a second ago, we have one of the best marketing teams at AS Beauty that understands that using my likeness in a fun way. I have a personal affinity to comedy. I think that if I wasn't doing beauty, I would have been a stand-up comic. I love comedy, and they know how to really make me bring out my funny side. And so I think it's amusing. And if you could stick around and watch somebody, then you're more apt to, again, it's like storytelling, say, who is she? And wow, I like this gal and she's funny. I mean, I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I hope that I resonate in a way that I'm identifying with what people are thinking and laughing at. And so my team is they're working my last bone with TikToks. And I think just 2 days ago, they were here filming TikToks. And by the way, they keep me so busy that I don't even have a chance to say to them, what is this? And what are we doing? And what are you having me do? And then months later, it pops up on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. And I'm like, that's what I filmed. I should have asked you, what were you filming?
It's funny because as an observer, being involved with the business and being an observer of what you do, I'm like, how does she do all this and then prep for it ahead of time? She's got to be communicated from the team. They got to say, look, we want you to, spin around 6 times. And, it seems like a lot of work and a lot of prep. But I've heard you say, I love what I do. And there's so many people out there that don't love what they do, but you do, and that's great. But tell us what you do. How do you make up the week with all the different aspects of what you're involved in?
I think anybody listening would understand what I'm going to say. I got to live my dream. I'm doing what I was passionate about since I was young. And I do feel bad for people who either don't have a passion or a hobby, even, or are seeing work as, work. I mean, listen, there have been many years and in my career where I thought, what was I thinking, being an entrepreneur? And because I was faced with things that I didn't plan for and that were really hard. But I think the business of beauty is something I love and thrive on so much that I think it gives me something more than just feeding my soul. I think it keeps me from feeling sad and depressed, and I kind of need it. I just need it. I thrive on it. And the truth is, I can do it and enjoy it more because I have partners, so to speak, in AS Beauty that are allowing me to do what I love and what I'm passionate about and not have to worry about the business. I don't have to hire, I don't have to fire, I don't have to, the stuff that I did on my own before I sold my business, now I get to do what I love, teach people about makeup and innovate makeup and play in the marketing space, doing TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and social media.
There's a term around the business, Geller gal, Geller girls. What was the genesis of that, and how do you describe the Geller gal?
That started from QVC, where all of a sudden people would call in to the show and say, "Oh my God, Geller gal here." And I went, "Oh, that's a Gigi. Okay, oh, that's going to stick." And so I never planned on that. And now there's Geller gals and Geller guys. And I'm so proud of that. I mean, every now and again, I'll run into somebody and they'll be like, I'm a Geller guy. And I'm like, you go. That sort of stuck. And they're Gigi's. And they're people who respect the brand, like the brand, have only used the brand or come back to it after going and trying other things. And so they're an extension of me. I mean, I am deeply concerned about them and care about them, maybe to a fault, because I'm always reading every comment and DM and taking it seriously. And behind the scenes sending off a comment to Bobby or somebody in the company or customer service and saying, "Did you see this?" And I'm typically not sending all the good comments. I'm typically sending a comment that needs addressing, which thankfully aren't many. But I care about, that's how much I care about everybody being happy.
Well, one of the aspects of the show here, once we're done, I wrap up and do three key takeaways for folks that have listened to the show. But if you were introspective for you, one or two key takeaways as you've developed your career, what did you learn early on that you've leveraged? What did you learn maybe early on that you realized that's not working for me? I need to try it a different way.
I guess being in the position I'm in, because it's a separate podcast to talk about the things I've learned running a business. So that's separate and aside. What I've learned is to be honest and truthful and to not, I won't represent or ever sell a product that I don't believe in, that I don't think will make a difference for her. Even if it may not be that I use it, but I have to believe in it. And that is a constant, and that has never changed. And I think that is what has built the loyalty that we have in the Laura Geller customer. So I have learned that that is absolutely paramount and that you have to be passionate and authentic about the product you're representing, whether it's beauty or any service or product you have. So that would be my biggest lesson that I've learned, is that I've always stayed truthful.
You've had an amazing career. Your business is thriving. Oftentimes you see founders sell to a different organization and it doesn't work out. It's clearly worked out really nicely for you and for the ownership of AS Beauty.
Thank you. No, there were hiccups before AS Beauty came into the picture. And when you partner with somebody, you always have to hope that they have the same vision, or aligned. And we are so aligned. And I think that's what makes it so successful, because if somebody pushed back on my vision, I'd have a really hard time.
All right, we're down to the end of the show. We do a 2-minute drill. There are
Uh-oh.
seven questions,
Oh no.
one word answer. You ready? Could you do that?
I don't know. One word from me? I don't know.
Nobody ever only does it in one word. All right, here we go. Let's try it. A brand that you admire or that inspires you.
Estee Lauder, but the Estee Lauder brand, by the way.
Okay, awesome. Favorite app on your phone? This one's going to be easy.
Instagram.
Okay. Last website other than Amazon that you shopped from?
Oh, Nordstrom Rack.
Something that you're not good at but wish that you were?
Exercise.
A charitable organization that you're passionate about?
Oh, there's quite a few. Breast cancer organizations.
Okay. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
To read what my dog is thinking. To know what my dog is thinking.
I like that one. That's a good one. Other than family, what's your most prized possession?
It's my home.
Okay, great. Laura, if folks would like to reach out to you on social media, what would be the best place for them to do that?
So the fan page is Laura Geller Beauty on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, but on Instagram and TikTok only, it's Laura J. Geller.
Okay, well, folks, there you go. Laura Geller Beauty, Laura Geller herself. Laura, thank you so much for taking the time to do the show. I think this was great, and I'm sure the listeners are going to love it.
Thank you for having me, Mark. I enjoyed it.
That's it. Today's game ball goes to Laura Geller for coming on the Marketing Playbook. To me, today's 3 game-winning marketing plays were as follows. Number 1, passion and authenticity beat everything else. Laura's success stems from her unwavering authenticity, showing up honestly for customers, telling real stories, and creating products based on genuine need rather than marketing trends. And number 2, innovation happens when you stay curious. From discovering Italy's baked makeup process to adapting across QVC, e-commerce, and social media, Laura shows how her staying open to new ideas fuels longevity in a rapidly changing industry. And number 3, know your customer, then grow with them. Laura built her brand by understanding the needs of women over 40 and continuing to evolve with them, proving that deep customer connection and education create lifelong loyalty. Thank you, Playbook marketers, for listening to another episode. If you want to check out more pages of the Marketing Playbook, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast spot and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, the devil is in the details.